Welcome everyone, KD here with a small update about my games on War and Pieces. And this is a really short update, and I will want to take the chance to talk a little bit about the different classes of weapon you will find in the main game. Of course, in the demo it will be a little bit different, but that's what I want to do. Then I probably will do tomorrow or in a couple of hours another update, kind of talk a little bit about the goals I set to myself to finally finish the demo, because at the moment, in the last days, it was kind of like an up and down, because I didn't have a real goal, so I set the goal. So I will talk about this in another update. Now I want to talk a little bit about the weapons for that. So just like always, as a short disclaimer, this is still very early in progress. Everything we see is not final. So about the weapons, what I did now is kind of give you the possibilities that's already added to craft weapons. Right now there are two common weapons you can craft, plus one, plus the secondary weapon for Arwin. You can craft. There will be a third weapon you can craft for the demo. And the main game will have a lot of weapons, and not only you can craft, you can also buy them or find them in the game. So what I did here is kind of what you also need are weapon holsters to holster your weapons, so you can take them with you into combat. So right now there will be three sizes of weapon holsters: S, M, and L. Depending on the weapon size. So S weapons are small weapons, kind of one-handed close ranged weapons as example, or as we have here, a blacksmith hammer, or also a slingshot or kind of pistol-like weapon would be small. Then medium-sized weapons would be kind of also for more like for mid-ranged weapons, a spear, a staff, a two-handed sword, or something like that. So I kind of have this different size different and also type different between weapons. Is kind of like one-handed weapon and two-handed weapons, and two-handed weapons are kind of longer ranged and so on. Just kind of like this different, and then large weapons are then really big weapons. This won't be in the demo, so I didn't think about too many of them right now, but there's sure weapons you can imagine that then are really large. Maybe the Stonebreaker you see here will be counted as a large weapon. Maybe even a spear is then as a large weapon. I have to see how I categorize right now. So for the demo you can only craft small weapons. What you see here, we can then equip our blacksmith hammer, and then we see it pops up. I will do this for the main game. For the demo I will leave it like this, but for the main game it will be better animated, or at least the camera will zoom, so you will see that you get a weapon, or you do a slingshot and then you see the slingshot is popping up. Yes, so that's about that. So now I kind of want to talk about the weapon classes you can find. At the moment I thought about 5 weapon classes. This may change. Maybe I will scratch one, or maybe I will add another one. So, but at the moment I'm thinking about 5. And I want to shortly talk about them. So the first weapon types are unique weapons. I have to rethink this name because it's maybe not unique. Is maybe not the best name for it. There are other weapon types that also are unique. That's kind of the problem, and it's also that these weapons are maybe not even unique. But there is a So what unique weapons are is kind of the weapons are bonded to your character. I would say these are primary two weapons that are binded to each character, primary weapon and a secondary weapon. That's not completely true because for every character, because I kind of try to make some characters different to play than others, just to keep things interesting. So this is just kind of rule that most characters have two weapons that are binded to them. What do I mean with binded is kind of like you can't give the weapon to another character. You can't even. Also, these weapons are always with your character. You can replace them for another type, for another weapon or anything like that. So the primary weapon and the secondary weapon will be always on the character at the point you have it. So what also is kind of durability. They don't break and stuff like that. They will have special abilities connected to them, and they can be improved in the crafting and improving menu, so you can make them better over time. Also, in the story, that's another reason why they're maybe not unique. It's kind of like because of the story, they kind of make change and stuff like that. But that's kind of like what the unique weapons are. They are binded to the characters. They have infinite durability, so they won't break and stuff like that. And they will probably be your main weapon because over time you probably will really improve them to a point that they are stronger than the common than other weapons than you find weapons we talk about right now. So that's kind of like the premise of unique weapon. Like I said, maybe I have to find another name, maybe character-based weapons or for this class or something like that. The second weapons will be common weapons. Like the name says, this will be weapons you will find a lot. They will be not so difficult to craft. You will find them in treasure chests. You can buy them in shops and stuff like that. So these are weapons that are everywhere. They have weak states. If you just get them, they're not as strong as primary or secondary or your secondary weapons. They will have a very low durability, as example we see here. The slingshot has a durability of 5, the blacksmith hammer of 10. So what does that mean? It's just a number. But every attack will use a certain amount of durability. So a very simple attack will just use 1 durability. That means you can use this weapon 5 times and then it will break. So now, of course, you will have the possibility to improve the durability and stuff like that to add more durability. You will also get the chance to actually improve the other states of your common weapons if you have the right abilities, I have to say. Then you can improve common weapons. So what is the idea of the common weapons if they are in general really weak? Depending on the unique weapon. And the idea is kind of that you can equip common weapon to give your character more abilities he can use in combat. As example here, Arwen has his Stormbreaker. The Stormbreaker is a mid-ranged weapon, and he has a Tooth Dagger. The dagger is a short-ranged weapon. That means Arwen has no weapon for long range or anything like that. So what you can do is bring a long range weapon with you, and then you can use long ranged weapon abilities to use different kind of abilities to use and so on will help you to um, develop your character in different ways and so on. So this is interesting in many ways. There may be for special enemy types, long-range weapons will be more effective than other weapon types and stuff like that. Also, as an example, the tooth dagger is a frosting weapon, so you can cut with a dagger or you can do blunt damage. This are kind of like the three damage type is frost, slash, and smash. That's at least how I call it, and they will do kind of for different hit points. There will be different. Some will be more effective for this type of hit points, and so on. So, as example, slashing will do a lot of health damage. Smashing will do a lot of armor damage or for equipment damage. And frosting weapon will do a lot of energy damage. That's kind of the idea with everything. So the other thing is with common weapons, you can now, as example, bring a short sword with you or a knife if you want to do slashing damage, because your secondary weapon is only a dagger. So that's kind of the idea with the common weapons, that you can fill out the spaces you don't have, your primary and your secondary weapon don't do. And that's kind of the thing with common weapons. So also, because you can improve the durability, and always add more durability to a weapon, because you can improve other states and so on, you can actually make even the common weapons with which have very poor states, you can actually make them very strong. But the thing is, as soon as the durability is on 0, the weapon will break and will be lost forever. So that's something you have to keep in mind. So you can maybe spend a lot of experience points. Like I always say, experience points you will earn in combat, of course, and you can use experience points for different ways. You can use it to improve your characters, but you can also use it for crafting items and using it for improving your items. Everything will kind of cost experience points. But also improving weapons will cost you materials and tools and other things and stuff like that. So it can be very expensive to improve a common weapon, but this can be very useful, and then you always have to be careful about the durability. If a weapon breaks, it will be lost forever. You can in the main game you will have the possibility to, from the same weapon type, you can have 10 weapons in total in your item box. So not equipped. Like I said, you will need to craft holsters for different weapon sizes, and but so you can only bring one weapon with you, but in total you can have 10 weapons, so you can have one weapon with you and 9 weapons as a backup if one breaks or anything like that. I was really thinking about how I want to do this. For the demo, I have to say you can only have one weapon, but for the main game you will have 10 weapons, because I had the feeling that to have a reserve, it's kind of good, or that you can have the chance to have the same weapon for 2 different characters and so on. So so more than one is really useful there. And I chose 10, because to choose more than 10 it would be too much to kind of develop this. I don't know how I can do this, that you could have infinite of the same weapon type, and the question is this even necessary? I think 10 is a good in between. I don't think you really want from common weapons more than 10 that you really need that, to be honest. But the problem is that because maybe the general, the basic states of these weapons, they may be the same, but because you can improve weapons and so on, they all have different states, and that's why it gets I don't really know a system to give you the option to have infinite common weapons. So that's why I decided to 10 slots. Let's not make this way too long. Sorry about that. That's about the common weapons. Like I said, the common weapons, kind of to summarize this, they're here to give you abilities that your primary weapon and secondary weapon don't offer you, to use them so you can develop your character further in ways you may not can with the primary and secondary weapons because of the ability limitations you have there. Common weapons are weapons you find easily in some treasure in the world, in shops, and you can craft. They have pretty weak states, and you can maximum have 10 of the same type with you. Then we have legendary weapons. Legendary weapons are very special because they will be only for one specific character. He can use legendary weapons. So I said that every character has 2 weapons, a primary weapon and secondary weapon. And then I said actually some characters are different, and that's exactly one character that is different. This character has one primary weapon he used the most, and the secondary weapon will be one of the legendary weapon you can select you want to bring with you. So what is a legendary weapon is a legendary weapon is a weapon that was used by a very strong warrior, and he kind of has this special ability to take this weapon and kind of to also overtake the abilities that the fallen soldier had, to take the weapon and to use this legend. That's why, because it's by a strong soldier that is fallen, so by a kind of legend, so that's why I call them legendary weapons. And then he can take this weapon with him and use them, even if it's a weapon that he has not the ability to learn. So maybe it's a bow and arrow, and he doesn't have learned the ability yet to use bow and arrows, but because it's a legendary weapon, he actually can use this weapon in combat, because of his special skill, to take over the abilities the fallen soldier had. That's kind of about the legendary weapons. Legendary weapons, they can't break, they have infinite durabilities, and again, they're also unique, so you will find one of this weapon. And I mean because only he can use them, and because they have infinite durability, it's actually not necessary to have more than one legendary of the same legendary weapon. But that's kind of to it. I don't want to go too much into it because it has to do with the story and with the main game, and legendary weapon you won't find in the demo, of course. Then there will be mastery weapon or mastery class weapon. I'm not sure how exactly I want to call it. Mastery weapons, there's something you can't find in the world or can't buy in a shop. The only way to do is to learn the ability to craft them, and you can only craft them if you master a special type of weapon. As example, a dagger. If you master the dagger, then you get the ability to craft a mastery dagger. And the special thing is with that is that then only that character that mastered it can use it. so you can't switch it. Maybe I will do special holsters for mastery weapons, I'm not sure. I also have to say, at the moment plant are kind of free holsters, so for the free sizes, but that doesn't mean that I will later on add more holsters or give you the possibility to bring you 2 small weapons with you and just really to bring a lot of weapons with you in the combat. But for the demo, like I said, there is only a small weapon holster, at least for now. So maybe I will do for the master weapon, I will do special holsters and things like that and so on. So to learn this up, this is will be a really high tier ability, so that it won't be easy to learn it and stuff like that. But these weapons will be very strong, absolutely compared to common weapons, and they will already have very strong base states, so you don't have to improve them like your primary and secondary weapon to make them stronger. But like I said, this will be anyway something you will probably only craft in later games. And probably the crafting materials you need for them, they won't be so easy to get, they won't be so common. And all this stuff. This is kind of what masterclass weapons are. You can only have one at a time. Unlike common weapons, you can have 10. You can only have one at a time. Mastery weapons have a durability. It will be a lot higher than common weapons, but they will have a durability. These weapons can break, and when this weapon breaks, then it's not lost forever, because you can recraft the weapon again. Like I said, you can't have 2 mastery weapons. You can only have one, and then as soon as it breaks, you can craft a new one if you want to. And then finally there will be, I'm again not sure about the name. I was thinking about epic weapons or ultimate weapons. I like ultimate weapons because I like Final Fantasy VII. However, I'm not sure if I want to take this name because it may be a little bit confusing because of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, the ultimate weapons are weapons that so every character has one ultimate weapon, and it is the strongest weapon for this character in the game. And it will be different from my game. Because ultimate weapons are not specific for characters. They are kind of like common weapons. You can give them to anyone that has learned to use this type of weapons and that has the right holster to hold it. Again, maybe I will do special holsters for legendary weapons. The thing for ultimate weapons. The special thing with the ultimate weapons is you will find them, you can't craft them. That's one thing. You can't buy them in shops, or only for or maybe you can in a special shop that is hard to find and for a very high price or anything like that. Maybe I will do something like that. But in general, you have to do side quests. You maybe have to do defeat special bosses to find legendary weapons. Not legendary. Sorry about that. Not legendary weapons. I mean the ultimate weapons. And all this stuff. And you will have only the chance to find them once. There won't be a second one of them. And like I said, you have to go out of the way to find legendary weapons. You have to go fight very strong enemies or doing a complicated side quest and stuff like that to get this ultimate weapons. And they will of course have very high states. These weapons will be very strong. Maybe these weapons even come with special abilities and stuff like that. Now here's the thing, these weapons will have a durability, they can break, and if they break, they are lost forever, because like I said, this weapon, you can find them only once in the game, so you have to be really careful about that. Again, it will be of course possible to improve durability of these weapons so they don't break um, too fast, so you can kind of use them almost forever, because there's not a thing like limitation in how much durability you can give a weapon. But adding durability to a weapon, it will cost you items and other stuff, so there will be kind of different types of oil that give you different types of durability. So what you can do is you can bring this oils with you into combat, and if you have a weapon that is almost breaking, you can use this in combat. However, using these oils in combat will give you only a small amount of durability. What you can do is, in the improving part of the game, you can add you can use this oil in a and kind of multiply these oils together, get kind of bonus durabilities out of that, and it will be much more effective to add more durability outside of combat. So the idea is bring the oil with you. In the combat is more for emergency, if a weapon is almost breaking, so you can give it more durabilities. But you will see that this you will get the option already in the demo version to add durabilities to your weapon in combat. At the beginning, you won't have the option to add durability outside of combat, but this will definitely be added. These are all these small kind of game mechanics I want to add at some point to the demo before I go over to the main game. Um, just so that I really have a really strong structure with the combat, with the progression system, with the crafting system, with everything already. That's kind of the reason, one reason for the demo, to build this very strong foundation, fundament uh, of the combat and progression and everything, uh, on which then I can build for creating the main game. And this was maybe quite a long update. I'm sorry about that, but this is kind of about the ideas about the 5 different type of weapons you will find in the game. Like I said, the unique weapon will be character-based weapons. They will be kind of connected to the story most of the time and stuff like that. You can't exchange them, but they also won't break or anything, and they will also not cost you a special weapon slot or anything like that. Common weapons are weapons you will find everywhere in the world, in shops. You can craft easily. They have low durability, they can break very easily, they don't have too high states, but they are to give you character stability to use abilities beyond your primary and secondary weapon. Legendary weapons are just for the one guy. They're very special weapons. I guess I don't want to go too much into that again, because it will be something you will only encounter in the main game, not in the demo. And there will be definitely time we can talk about this a little bit deeper about the legendary weapon. Mastery weapons are high tier, is a high tier ability to craft these weapons. Um, you need to learn, really master a weapon and the ability you have. So it will be very difficult. It will not something that just comes to you to craft these mastery weapons. Mastery weapons will be very strong. Mastery weapons will have a durability, but you can craft them over and over again if you want to. And then ultimate weapons are these very unique weapons that you can only find once in the whole game, and if and are very difficult to find. So like I said, you have to do special side quests, you have to fight very strong monsters to get to them. They have very high stats, of course, but also they have durability and they may break, and if they break, they are lost forever. At least for this playthrough. Yes, and that's kind of the update I wanted to give, and a little bit talking about the weapons, the ideas I have about the weapons. You can